This is the AWS Morning Brief Security Edition. AWS is fond of saying security is job zero. That means it's nobody in particular's job, which means it falls to the rest of us. Just the news you need to know, none of the fluff. This episode is sponsored in part by our friends at Chronosphere. When it costs more money and time to observe your environment than it does to build it, there's a problem. With Chronosphere, you can shape and transform observability data based on need, context, and utility. Learn how to only store the useful data you need to see in order to reduce costs and improve performance at chronosphere.io/Corey-Quinn. That's chronosphere.io/Corey-Quinn. And my thanks to them for sponsoring my ridiculous nonsense. Hello and welcome to Last Week in AWS Security Edition. We begin with a bit of sad news. InfoSec luminary Kelly, a Laurie alum, has regrettably passed away. I always enjoyed reading her stuff on Twitter. She'll be missed. GitHub accidentally published its RSA host keys for SSH. Oof, if you see a bunch of errors this week on it, that's why. AWS had a couple of interesting things out there. It has a way to automate IAM credential reports for large AWS organizations. I like this solution very much, I just wish it required a bit less human interaction to configure it properly. It feels like some of the things it requires, like the org ID, could be discoverable programmatically rather than asking for it manually. How to use Amazon Macie to reduce the cost discovering sensitive data. This rather adroitly illustrates an inherent tension when marketing security products. This post is about how to reduce Macie's costs, but the real question to ask yourself is what's the cost of not discovering sensitive data? Of course, as soon as vendors lean into this story, they're accused of spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD. It's a difficult balance to strike, and I've got no idea how to properly navigate those waters, but I have some ideas. But yeah, Macie's pricing is better than it used to be, other than the inexplicable 10 cents per S3 bucket, which just strikes me as odd. It's never going to be a material amount of money for a company, but it serves as a subtle pressure to use fewer buckets instead of more of them, which is kind of an anti-pattern. And use backups to recover from security incidents. Yes, this is the big reason you have backups in the first place. Why else would you want to have backups lying around? To add ballast to the S3 bill? And the tool of the week is called Chekhov, because I haven't thought about it for a while. If you're not familiar, it's an open source project that scans Terraform, CloudFormation, and other IAC type things to statically analyze them for vulnerabilities. It's got something of a cult following. Check it out. And that's what happened last week in AWS Security. Stick around. Thank you for listening to the AWS Morning Brief Security Edition. For the latest in AWS security that actually matters, please follow AWS Morning Brief on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or wherever the hell it is you find the dulcet tones of my voice. And be sure to sign up for the Last Week in AWS newsletter at lastweekinaws.com.